By now, the internet has called every planet the scariest one. Mercury, Neptune, even Pluto. It's a tired formula, ominous music, a planet cast as a villain. Saturn gets the same treatment, but strip away the theatrics and something stranger is sitting there, an actual unsolved case. Nobody has closed the file. Here's clue number 1. Saturn is 4.5 billion years old. Its rings are not. Cassini spent 13 years measuring the rings directly, weighing them, tracking how fast micrometeorites darken their ice. More than 95% of that mass is pure water ice, and pure ice gets dirtier the longer it sits exposed in space. The math only works one way. The rings can't be older than a few 100 million years. Somewhere between the age of the dinosaurs and today, something happened at Saturn. Something violent enough to leave debris still orbiting the planet. Whatever it was, it's recent enough that early humans could, in theory, have missed it by accident. So who or what did it? Clue 2 came from Cassini's final dive. As the probe ran out of fuel in 2017, Mission Control aimed it straight into Saturn's clouds, using its last hours to measure exactly how Saturn's mass is packed inside itself. That measurement controls something called precession, the slow wobble of Saturn's spin axis, the same way a spinning top slowly tilts and drifts as it loses speed. For decades, scientists assumed Saturn's wobble moved in rhythm with Neptune's orbit, two planets swaying in step across 4.5 billion years. Cassini's numbers broke that assumption. Saturn's wobble doesn't match Neptune's anymore. It's close, less than 1% off, but close doesn't count in orbital mechanics. Something knocked it out of sync. In detective work, a broken alibi is the best kind of evidence, and Cassini had just found one. In 2022, a team at MIT proposed a suspect. They named it Chrysalis, a moon roughly the size of Iapetus, Saturn's third largest moon, quietly orbiting between Titan and Iapetus for billions of years. They chose the name deliberately. A chrysalis sits still and unremarkable for years before something inside it breaks open. As Titan slowly drifted outward, and it still moves nearly 11 centimeters farther from Saturn every year, its growing pull yanked Chrysalis into a chaotic, tightening orbit, dragging it through repeated close calls with Titan and Iapetus. Sometime between 100 and 200 million years ago, Chrysalis swung too close. Saturn's gravity tore it apart on contact. The wreckage settled into orbit as ice and dust. That wreckage, the researchers argued, is the rings hanging over Saturn's clouds right now. That story held up for years. Then, in February 2026, everything changed. A team at the SETI Institute reopened the case with a new set of simulations. They started from a nagging problem. Titan has almost no impact craters, which is strange for a moon that has sat in the solar system for billions of years. Something must have wiped its surface clean. Running the numbers, the researchers found that the missing moon likely didn't just brush past Saturn and shatter on its own, it hit Titan first. A direct collision, roughly 500 million years ago, violent enough to resurface Titan, entirely and permanently alter its orbit. The moon that was supposed to become the rings may have partially merged into Titan itself. The destroyed moon story wasn't wrong. It was incomplete. The clue that convinced them sits in a strange, tumbling little moon called Hyperion, barely 5% of Titan's diameter. Unlike every other major moon in the solar system, Hyperion doesn't rotate smoothly. It spins chaotically, unpredictably, like debris that never settled down, tumbling on an axis that keeps changing. Hyperion's orbit is locked to Titan's in a pattern researchers estimate is only a few 100 million years old, the same window as the ring-forming event. The leading theory now is that Hyperion is leftover shrapnel from the same collision that reshaped Titan, or debris that later clumped together near the crime scene. Either way, it is a tumbling moon, still visibly disturbed, hundreds of millions of years after the impact. Here's where the crime scene gets bigger. Titan's collision-altered orbit didn't just create Hyperion. As Titan drifted further out over the following hundreds of millions of years, its shifting gravity reached into the inner Saturn system and destabilized the smaller moons orbiting there. Those moons were pulled into unstable crossing orbits, the kind that don't stay separated for long. Eventually they collided with each other, grinding down into ice, dust and boulders ranging from centimetres to tens of metres wide. Some of that debris settled into the bright rings we see today. Some of it condensed back into brand new small moons, born from the wreckage of their predecessors. One collision 500 million years ago set off a chain reaction that is still visibly shaping Saturn's neighbourhood. And the case isn't closed. Saturn already has one famous moon with an ocean, Enceladus, caught by Cassini in 2004, firing geysers of water vapour into space from its south pole, feeding one of Saturn's faint outer rings. That discovery is old news by now. The new one is stranger. In 2024, researchers studying Cassini data found something impossible inside Mimas, one of Saturn's smaller moons. Mimas looks like a dead cratered rock, roughly 400 kilometres across, nicknamed the Death Star for its enormous impact crater. No geysers, no cracks, no outward sign of anything, but its orbit was wobbling in a way only a liquid ocean underneath could explain. That ocean, researchers calculated, formed somewhere between 5 and 15 million years ago. Not billions, millions, which means Mimas has been hiding an ocean behind a dead face for a shorter span of time than some species of shark have existed on Earth. Something is still happening inside the Saturn system, right now, that we cannot see from the outside. Put all of that together, and Saturn stops looking like a villain in a thumbnail. It starts looking like an active investigation with new evidence still coming in. A collision that reshaped a moon. Debris that built a ring system stretching 280,000 kilometres wide, yet thinner in places than a 3-story building is tall. An inner ocean that opened up more recently than the rise of most mammal species on Earth. None of it is finished. Saturn's own gravity and its shepherd moons are still pulling ring material down into the clouds, thinning the rings a little more with every orbit. On a cosmic timescale, they will likely be gone within another 100 million years or so. Every human who has ever looked up at Saturn's rings, including you, is looking at short-lived evidence at a crime scene mid-investigation, one that started closing the moment it opened. NASA's Dragonfly mission is scheduled to land on Titan in 2034, a nuclear-powered rotorcraft built to study its surface chemistry and geology up close. If this new theory is right, its instruments could find scars from that ancient collision still written into Titan's methane lakes and icy crust, evidence of violence hiding under a world that looks calm from orbit. If the collision theory is wrong, Dragonfly's data should quietly rule it out instead. Either way, the file on Saturn stays open until it lands.